Greetings! On this week's episode, we talk about fasting, and I invite you to consider fasting from 5 things. Greetings! I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of balance. You can either listen to this episode as a podcast or watch it as a video. All of that can be found at tomearl.com/fasting. tomearl.com/fasting, fasting. Because this is the month of Ramadan. So not only is this my year of expression, but it's the month of Ramadan. And you might have heard in the last episode that we did with Imam T.H.E that he shared with us where Ramadan comes from. So, what we're going to talk about in this episode is 6 things that I suggest you fast from. So, of course, there's the physical fasting, which is I'm doing right now, and millions of Muslims around the world are doing, where while the sun is up, so for me that's about like 5 a.m. until the sun sets, which is about 8 p.m., we don't drink anything or eat anything. We completely fast from food and water until the sun sets. But fasting is more than just the physical fasting. So what we're going to talk about today is, what are 6 things we should fast from on a regular basis? But before we get into that, we always like to start in an intentional way, in a way that raises our energy. So if you could just sit up in your chair, or if you're able to, stand up and stretch for a minute. We go through our day so fast, and we rarely get a chance to just pause and reflect on our day and take a little break for ourselves. And as we always show, in just 3 minutes of checking in with ourselves, you can shift your energy entirely. So go ahead, sit up straight in your chair, and breathe in nice and deep, and then release. Ready? Breathe in and release. One more time, breathe in and release. This time when you breathe in, when you go to breathe out, I want you to breathe out in a really fun, goofy, exaggerated way. Ready? Breathe in and release in a goofy way. Helps to have fun. So what I'd like for you to do now is, after we breathe in real nice, is close your eyes. I'm going to do the same. Close your eyes and think of a time in your life where something happened where you felt at peace. Think of a time in your life where you felt at peace. Maybe it was a time in nature, or a walk, or while you were meditating, or a decision you made that brought you peace. Think of some time in your life where you felt peace. Next, I want you to think of, when was a time in your life where something happened that made you laugh out loud? You laughed out loud. My go-to is always the Mindy Project. Something that happened there always makes me laugh. But right now I'm thinking of something that happened on Guardians of the Galaxy. So think of something that made you laugh out loud. Next, when was a time you were with friends, family, or somebody you loved, and it was just awesome? Think of a time like that. I'm thinking of my friend. She had a housewarming party recently, and it was just real nice seeing her so happy and being with a bunch of people who were awesome. Lastly, I want you to think of, when was a time where you had a goal, where you set a goal, and lots of obstacles and things came in your way, but you pushed through it. You kept going. Think of that time. If you can't think of something, think back to maybe when you got your driver's license, or a test you passed, or the first time you learned how to tie your shoes, something like that. Okay? Take those memories with you. Breathe in deep one more time. Let out that breath, and open your eyes. There we go. 2 minutes. We were able to shift our energy just with our mind, thinking of something positive, thinking of something happened that made us joyful or laughed out loud. And that's the power of our mind. That's the power of when we make a decision. And so what we're going to talk about today is What are 6 things you can fast from? F-A-S-T. What are 6 things you can fast from that can harness the power of your mind, harness the power of your discipline, and that'll bring you joy? And in case you've never heard this word before, fasting. Fasting is where you abstain from something, where you go without it. For instance, Christians during Lent, they fast on Fridays from meat. Or, like I said, as Muslims during Ramadan, which is our 9th month of the lunar calendar, we fast from food and water while the sun is up, and then break our fast when it goes down. So, in addition to food, we're going to talk about 6 things. So, let me start with the story. So get yourself comfortable. This is a story I thought of this morning. So there was this young girl, her name was Fatima, and she was born in this magical place far, far away. So in Fatima's town, what was really honored, what people really valued, was how fast you could talk. If in a 10-second period you could speak as many words as possible, you were considered to be super awesome. It's what everybody valued. People would come from miles around to hear people who could fit hundreds of words into a 10-second period and still do it in a way that was understandable. That was what was honored and where she was from. And unfortunately for Fatima, her gift was a little different. What she could do is within a 10-second period, she could pick 5 to 6 words, and each word would be so rich with meaning that she could express 1,000 words in 6 words. Except in her town, that's not what people are looking for. They wanted lots of words in a short period of time rather than a few words. So her whole life, as she was going through school and all of those things, some people were mean to her and would bully her and tell her it's stupid, that she can't really fit in. And some people were just neutral, but she never really received encouragement except from her parents. And her parents would tell her, you can do this. You have something within you. Keep going. So even though she didn't feel like it was really anything that she could offer anybody, she kept practicing. And she would think of, what is a word I can use that can mean a lot of words at one time? And she would find these words. She would invent words, and she would just find a way to communicate in a way that was really concise. She could say 5, 6 words in a 10-second period that it would blow your mind if that's what you were looking for. But unfortunately in her town, it wasn't. So she figured out when she got old enough, I can stay here and always feel like I don't belong. Stay in a place where my gifts, I feel like they're more of a curse. Or I can go out and learn. So she said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to learn, how can I speak a lot of words in a short period of time like the people in my town. She thought maybe there's somebody who can teach me how to do this because I just can't figure it out. So she left her town and she went wandering, and she came to teacher after teacher, and nobody could teach her how to do it. And while she was wandering, to pass the time, she kept strengthening the gift she already had that she thought was a curse. And she arrived at this town where people were super friendly, so friendly in fact that they said, why don't you come meet the queen? So she met the queen. The queen's name was Queen Blue. So she was hanging out with Queen Blue, and Queen Blue said, you know, my people, they're super smart, they're super awesome, but they're unhappy. And they're unhappy because what we're looking for is my people, they like words that are rich. Words where one word has 1,000 words within it. Where within 10 seconds, somebody could say 5 to 6 words and it would just blow our minds. That's what we're looking for. But unfortunately, everybody we find, they have this style where they speak lots of words in a little period of time. And Fatima thought, I think I can do that. And she found the courage and said to Queen Blue, you know, I think I might be your person actually. So the queen got all the people together, the whole town, they got in this big arena, and they said, go for it. And so she found the courage, and she spoke a sentence out loud with 5 words that were just so much meaning in them. It was a language that wouldn't translate, otherwise I'd share it with you. And she spoke it, and she looked out, and people's faces were just crying with joy and happiness. And for the first time, she saw that her gifts could change the world. and she looked to the queen, and the queen was smiling at her. And from that day, Fatima would strengthen her gifts, and she'd practice all the time, and every week she'd speak, and people would come from miles around in that town, in that city, to hear her speak. And Fatima recognized that her whole life she was comparing herself to other people, and it made her suffer. Because she thought, if only I could exchange my gifts for theirs, if only I could be like them, then I'd finally feel good. When really all she had to do was travel and find a place where her gifts could be put to use. And she lived happily ever after. How do you like my story? Because my story brings us to the first thing that we need to fast from, and that is comparison. We need to fast from comparison. I suggest you take 10 days and you do not compare yourself to anybody for 10 days and see what it's like. Brene Brown, she says, comparison is the thief of joy. Because often, especially now in a social media age where we're seeing other people's successes curated on an epic scale, we often find ourselves comparing ourselves to other people. Especially when it's something that we're striving to. Like, let's say you're a musician and you're really striving to be a great musician and get yourself heard. And you see another musician you know put out a video and it gets millions of views. And we can't help but compare ourselves and say, I should be there, or why aren't I there? And often comparison's cousins are jealousy and doubt. And we start to think, oh, like the jealousy thing. Well, that should be me. Or doubt ourselves, well, why isn't it me? But just like Fatima, we're all on our own journey. And we just need to travel. We need to go outside of ourselves and learn new things and see what inspires us and continue to strengthen our gift until, one day we find that exact moment where it happens. I was hearing the other day in one class I was in that we need to make sure that we believe that what we're after will happen, while at the same time knowing that it'll be a journey. And so we journey through that while at the same time learning. This is what we got to do. So my friends, I want to suggest to you to take 10 days off from comparing yourself to other people. Give it a shot. The next thing is control. We need to take a fast from constantly needing to be in control. So if you've seen one of my videos on choosing peace over control, it was a quote from one of my friends. And a big time that I experienced this is during traffic jams, where I'm in a traffic jam and there's really nothing I can do about the traffic. But instead I choose control over my peace. I get angry and I try to somehow think that by getting angry and agitated, it's somehow going to make the traffic split like the Red Sea. And so often I find that when I become agitated or anxious, it's because I'm trying to control a situation or a circumstance or a person where I have no control. And instead of focusing on what can I control, which is usually my internal state, my internal energy level. And this also comes to those of us who are leaders, who are activists. There's so much in the world that is going wrong, that if we constantly try to, just with our emotions, project those out there and try to change, we're going to get burnt out. I know for me, when I first started to become awakened to what's going on in the world, I was 15. And I started reading more things, listening to political hip-hop and punk rock and all this different stuff, and I started to see, wow, there's a different world than the existence that I'm living in. There are people who have different circumstances. And that was also right around the time where we invaded Iraq, and I was just so upset, and I started a website, I did all these different things. I was an activist at my school, but I had a lot of anxiety because I felt like I wasn't doing enough and all these different things. And so my grandma, she'd been there. She's lived through the Great Depression. She's lived through, 2 world wars, all these different things. And she told me, that I'm going to drive myself crazy like this. And so she pulled me aside and told me, what you got to do is, if you want to make the world a better place, focus on the world around you. Make that world a happy place. In other words, focus on what you can control. And she gave me this mug, and I still have it to this day. And on the mug is the serenity prayer. And I'm going to read it to you just in case you haven't heard this. It says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And so that's what I mean when I say let's fast from control. Is this right here, is this prayer, is to know the things that I can change and the things I cannot. And having the courage to change the ones I can, but the wisdom to know the difference. Because so much of our anxiety and our stress comes from trying to control that which we cannot control. And when we try to do that, it often makes us feel out of control. And feeling out of control can lead to suffering. So take a fast for the next 10 days. When you catch yourself getting anxious, you catch yourself getting overly stressed, follow it back like a rope and see what it's tied to. And I bet you'll find it's tied to something that you don't have control over. So consider that, fasting from trying to over control for the next 10 days. The next one, y'all ready for this? You knew it was coming. Social media. Take a 10-day fast from social media, except for, of course, my podcast. Don't fast from that. I'll just play it. So social media is a magnifying glass. It's a magnifying glass in that it magnifies what we're already feeling, looking for, or our current energy level. So if I'm in a place where I'm feeling, already feeling this first one, comparison, where I'm in a place where I'm comparing myself to others, social media is going to magnify that. You're going to have tons of people you can compare yourself to. Or if I'm feeling vulnerable or I'm feeling lonely, if I go on social media, it's going to magnify that. Same thing with joy. If you're feeling really joyful, you're going to find things on social media that make you feel joyful. But social media itself can become an addiction. So people talk about, scientists are trying to figure out what scientifically makes an addiction. And when I say addiction is that I have this one friend, and whenever we go out to eat, I love being with her. But if I stop talking for a second, if there's a lull in the conversation at all, or if I even look away, or if I reach for the appetizer, anything like that, boom, the phone is out and looking at it. Or she has a million notifications on. So if any of her notification goes off, even if I'm in the middle of a heart-wrenching story, I'm like, this happened, and then, this thing I never told anybody, oh, hang on. Boom, the phone is out. And it's just hard, And the thing about it is, I don't think it's even a choice anymore. I don't think that there's a conscious choice of, you know what? I want to know what's on my timeline. It's a need where it overrides your ability to make a decision. The phone comes out, I got to be on it. And so anything in life that's no longer a choice, where you have to do it. That's where people say an addiction. And there's no judgment on it. It's not saying you're a bad person because you're addicted to social media. So scientists are trying to figure out what about it is addicting. So you might have heard this, where they say what they believe it is this chemical called dopamine. And there's a lot of conversations about what is dopamine. So a lot of people used to say, well, dopamine is the happiness chemical or the achievement chemical. But they're getting a lot of clarity in that. What they're saying dopamine is it's a chemical in your brain that's released when you seek something out. Or it's a reward for trying to find something or trying to discover something. That's what dopamine does. So for instance, as we're developing as human beings, species-wise, if you were to go out and try to solve a problem, dopamine will be the chemical that's released that rewards you and teaches your brain that, hey, when you go out and you search for food, I'm going to chemically tell you that it feels good so that you learn it's good to go search for food. It's that how many people here feel when you start something that you need to finish it? Or how many people feel if there's a problem that comes up, like let's say you get a phone call and somebody says, hey, this thing just happened. How many people here, raise your hand, feel like I want to solve this now? I don't want to put it off till next week. I want to solve this now. If you're one of those people that feels that, that's dopamine going off in your brain. You want that dopamine reward for going for it and closing the loop. So you go for it and you solve the problem, done. That's dopamine. It rewards you for seeking, and then you seek and you finish it, and boom, the reward is going off in your mind. So if that's what dopamine is, scientists are saying that social media is like a dopamine landfill. Because if you're seeking something, well, you can just go on social media and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and there's a never-ending amount of information. And it's also, you put yourself out there. So you post something on social media. Well, now you've created the expectation or the possibility of something to happen. So let's say I post some post, right? Now there's a chemical going off in your mind that's anticipating that people might like it, that people might heart it, that people might reshare it. So that chemical goes off in your brain, and then you start hoping and waiting chemically for people to like it. And each time they do, it reinforces in your mind chemically that this was a good thing. So now you're finding chemically, hey, I need that dopamine rush. And so boom, you post or you look or you're searching it through just social media. And that's not to say that dopamine itself is bad. Dopamine is totally essential to your life. Seeking is essential to your life. Just like social media is not, I'm not trying to paint it as all bad, but when it's no longer a choice, when anytime there's anything remotely awkward, like you're standing in an elevator or you're in a long line or anything like that, what we used to do is pause and think, or pause and be bored, or pause and just deal with the awkwardness by head nodding to somebody. And all of those things are just as important as your life as going on social media. So we want to balance, right? The year of balance. We want to balance between having some times where you're bored or having some times where it's awkward with constantly having the escape of social media. So my suggestion is pick one day of the week. Mine is usually Sunday. Pick one day where you put your phone on airplane mode and you do not check social media at all. At all. You don't post, you don't do anything like that. Just try it. I promise you, it's going to be tough at first, but you'll appreciate it. And if you really can, whenever I go on vacation, I have times of the year, about 3-4 times of the year, where I'll take 4 days, like a Thursday through a Monday, and I'll put my phone on airplane mode for those entire 4 days. And at first, like, you go through a little detox. You're wondering what's going on in the world and all this, and you want to tell people how awesome it is to not be on social media. And then by the second day, the third day, the fourth day, it feels good. You don't have to wonder. And you also find that you get that dopamine reward by seeking other things, like a book, like a conversation with family, like a TV show. And I know lots of people are going in hard on how terrible social media is. And that's not me. I love social media. Social media is a big component of how I share my message, of how I share my content. Without social media, we wouldn't be connected right now. So this is coming from somebody who loves social media. This is coming from somebody when people talk smack about young people or millennials or teenagers and say how we're all addicted to social media, how I give them a million reasons why they're crazy. But at the same time, we need to balance that and make sure that it's a choice. Make sure that when we go on social media, we're aware of, wait, why am I going back on even though I just checked it 3 seconds ago? Or how come I'm about to go to bed and I'm all relaxed, but at the same time I need to really quick check my feed? Why is that? We need to ask ourselves those questions. And at the same time, we can learn that through fasting from social media. Y'all having fun? Go ahead and real quick just do a little dance in your chair, stretch it out, do a little pump up. Yeah, okay? And let's breathe in through your nose. Breathe in and breathe out. They talk about how learning, if you do it passively, you usually only retain about 30% of what you listen to. But if you do something while you're learning, like right now, I just had you do a little dance, breathe in. So if continually while you're listening, when I invite you to make sure your energy is in a good place, if you align good energy with what you're learning right now, then your brain will tell you by what you feel, hey, what you're trying to learn feels good. But if while you're listening to this, it's like, kind of passive, then when you're like, hey, I want to go fasting, I want to fast from some of these things Tom is talking about. When you go to do those things, your body will remember, yeah, but it didn't really feel that good while I was listening, so why go for it? So that's why I invite you periodically, hey, let's raise our energy. And so I hope you take me up on that. Next thing, fasting from self-doubt. Fasting from self-doubt. Oh man, sometimes the things we say to ourselves within our mind, we would never say to somebody else out loud. Sometimes our self-talk is so mean that it's just like, man, why are we so hard on ourselves? And 2 episodes ago, I talked about the different kinds of thoughts we have, and don't believe everything you think. You can check that one out at tomrell.com/think, T-H-I-N-K, tomrell.com/think. It's worth checking out, talking about a lot of our thoughts aren't actually our own thoughts. They come from evolution, from socialization, from repetitive loops. And a lot of those lead to this self-doubt where we talk ourselves out of things before even going for it. Or we tell ourselves, oh, it's not you. And a lot of that comes from some of these other things I've just talked about comparison, from social media, comes from wanting to control things. And so fasting from these other things will also help with this one. But what if you went for something as if you had no fear? What would happen? What if you set a goal and just pretended, I'm going to go for this if I have no fear? Not the other day, but about 2 years ago, 3 maybe, I think it was 2015. I'm going to link this article in the show notes. But there was a journalist who decided to dress like Cookie Lion from Empire. She tried to do that for I think like 2 weeks. If you're not familiar, Cookie Lion, she's from the show Empire. Super awesome character, dresses her own unique style, absolutely amazing. But she'd be described as somebody who has awesome confidence and someone who, no matter what she comes up against in business and creativity, she will push through it like a lion and she will make it happen. And she has this awesome confidence. So a journalist said, I'm going to dress like Cookie Lion for 2 weeks and see what happens. And so she did. And she found by dressing as this role model she had and trying to imitate her role model after her confidence, she found she had more confidence in her own life. And she started going for things she wouldn't go for before. And so sometimes by just giving ourselves permission, by almost pretending we're putting on a play or we're assuming the role of someone else by saying, you know what? I no longer give myself for the next 10 days the out of self-doubt. That as soon as my self-doubt comes up, I'm going to say, nope, that's not even an option because I am fasting from it. Or if you hear yourself say something negative to yourself, you say, nope, I'm not even going to listen because for the next 10 days, I am fasting from self-doubt and putting myself down. If you just make that decision, eventually your mind will align with it because you've taken the option. There's a story, when the Moors went to Spain, they landed there, right? And they said, the leader said, there's no going home, right? Because if you think of Morocco, there's the sea and then there's Spain. So they took their boats there, and when they landed on Spain, the general said, what we're going to do is we're going to burn our boats. And so they burned all the boats. And what did that mean? That meant that there was no option for retreat. We burnt the bridge that is our escape route. And so, of course, they won. And so that's a phrase you might hear. You got to burn your boats. And so when you remove the option, when you say, I will not self-doubt, I will not do this or that. If you say, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to fast from this no matter what, your brain will eventually align with it because you've removed the out from it. And so this brings me to my last one. Y'all ready for this? You might not be expecting this one. The last thing I'm inviting us to fast from is overachieving. I want to invite us for the next 10 days to fast from being overachievers. I learned this one. This is what brought the year of balance for me, was that I was addicted to overachieving. I was addicted to always having to do something, to prepare, to set myself up for success in the highest way, to read the next book or write the next thing or this or that. I was always needing to do something. But what I'd never do, I would never relax. And so I read somewhere, I can't remember where, I apologize to the person for not giving you props, but I read that, for the overachiever, it's not courage. We don't need courage to go for something else. Because to the overachiever, what comes naturally is going after the next achievement. But rather, what takes courage for the overachiever is doing nothing. What takes courage for the overachiever is relaxing. What takes courage for the overachiever is binge watching a TV show all day. What takes courage for the overachiever is just being lazy. And so I want to invite you to pick this month 2 days where you're going to fast from overachieving. 2 days this month where you are going to disconnect from social media, where you're going to fast from trying to control everything, where you're going to fast from having to achieve and just relax and do a bunch of things that have no goal, no objective, nothing. You just get lazy, okay? And you know what? That brings balance to your life. It brings relaxation. It brings clarity of mind. It brings new ideas. There are books written on the art of leisure. How without leisure, without boredom, new ideas can't be born. Because it's in that space of no thought. It's in that space of, oh my gosh, I'm kind of bored. There's nothing to do, that you start to get new ideas, right? So I want to invite you to consider fasting for each one of these. Pick a day this month. Pick 10 days maybe we're going to do all these and see what it's like. And I bet you'll find that it brings you peace, joy, and balance. And it makes you more effective when you go back towards whatever it is you're doing. And if you dig it, try making this a regular practice. 1 month of the year, or all the time, or some of these things that you just want to let go of them. And if you go for it, let me know how it was. Let me know what day you're doing it. And it might be one of the days I'm doing it too, and we can fast together. My friends, it's always a joy getting together with you every month, every week, whatever we can to just talk about these conversations together. And I'm so used to interacting with people, so it's a little different medium than I'm used to. So if you listen to this and you enjoyed it, please let me know. I really appreciate it. You can reach out to me on any social media, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. All of that is at Tom Earl Artist. TOMEARL Artist. ARTIST. Send me a Snapchat, send me whatever, or an email, tom@tomearl.com. My friends, this has been such a joy to share this time with you. I know you could be anywhere, doing anything, and the fact that you chose to spend these last 30 minutes with me, I do not take it for granted. I am grateful for it, and I love you. And I hope you're having a great day, and I'm wishing you peace and blessings. Greetings, Tom Earl here. I hope you enjoyed that episode of The Celebration. I wanted to touch base because a lot of people have been having some amazing questions about the Celebration Academy. And so I wanted to give you a back-end perspective, or a back-end insider's view of what is the Celebration. So the Celebration is an individualized learning platform where you get your own learning profile, and it has all of your lessons, your videos, your handouts, the MP3 downloads, everything you need right here on your own learning platform that you log into. And it's a 6-week course that, just like the podcast, it's a place for leadership, inclusion, and expression where we live as the best version of ourselves. Except with this, it takes a step-by-step systemic approach that builds upon each week so that you connect with your gifts and your purpose while taking your leadership, your expression, your communication, and your relationships to the highest level of the best version of yourselves. It's a great program. As you can see, each week has 2 lessons, and they're in great sizes, 15 minutes each lesson, so that you can complete one lesson on the way to work and complete the other one on the way home from work, or however you'd like to break this down. So you can just go click right in. Here's your video. It's great. You can download the MP3, all your handouts. You can have comments here where your classmates or I can respond. It's great. And if you sign up right now, you're going to see right here that I include the achievement roadmap right there for you. At the same time, if you sign up right now, you get a one-on-one coaching session with me, which is going to be great. In addition, you get added to Leadership Makes Impact, which is a membership program where you get a free training every single month. So you can check that out all right here, tommerl.com/courses. Right there, you can enroll today. And if you'd like, we have a program called the Achievement Roadmap. It's a free 3-part course. Connects you with the tools, mindsets, and practice for stress-free time management and high-impact goal setting. So if you'd like, you can sign up for that for free just by going to tommerl.com/courses. Sign up for free right here, and then create your own unique, individualized user profile. Just enter your name, your email address, create a password, hit sign up for free, and you are in. Once you're in, it looks like this. And you have awesome stuff right here. Welcome each class, and you can download each one as an MP3 if you want to listen to it on the go. So I hope you consider doing that. And for all my artists out there, consider joining Art Makes Impact. It's a $10 a month membership program where you get access to all of the live and online writing workshops that I have done this year. And at the same time, I do exclusive writing workshops for Art Makes Impact members. We have a great time during that. We'd love to have you join us. It's $10 a month. We have a great time, and you can also download all these as MP3s, have comments. All of that can be found at tommerl.com/courses. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you consider joining us. Sign up for free for the Achievement Roadmap and give us a test run. You won't be disappointed. As always, my friends, I'll see you next week, and I'm wishing you peace and blessings.